Man, those shoes. Did you pull those out of a dumpster or something? Come on, old man, don't tell me you actually paid money for those. My dog's chew toy has more style. Those are the words of Tyler, a proud 7-year-old, to Davis, the school janitor. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more jaw-dropping stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to our main character. Have you ever heard someone's pride collapse in a single sentence? Let me tell you about the morning it happened. It's 8:47 in the morning at Crestwood Academy, one of the most exclusive private schools in the state. Tuition costs more per year than most people's entire salaries. The hallways are marble, the lockers shine brighter than new cars, and the students walk around as if they own the place. For some of them, their families practically do. And into this polished world walks a man most of them never bother to see. His name is Samuel Davis. He's 68 years old, and every morning, he puts on the gray uniform with his name stitched into a small blue patch over the pocket. He sweeps the halls before the first bell, wipes down the banisters, polishes the brass handles that the students barely touch before pushing their way through the doors. To most of them, he's invisible. A background presence. Just the janitor. But that morning, his steps cross paths with Tyler Montgomery. Now, Tyler is the kind of student Crestwood seems built for. 17 years old, tall, broad-shouldered, blonde hair that always looks perfectly arranged even when he's just rolled out of bed. His father is a developer with half the downtown office towers under his company's name. His mother sits on 3 nonprofit boards. Tyler walks through those halls like the world owes him respect, like nothing and no one can slow him down. And when he sees Mr. Davis that morning, kneeling by the lockers to pick up a candy wrapper someone dropped, Tyler slows his stride. He tilts his head, eyes sweeping from the worn knees of the janitor's pants, down to the shoes on his feet. They're old shoes. Leather cracked from years of wear. The kind of shoes that have walked more miles than most of the kids in that school will ever understand. Tyler grins. Loud enough for the group of boys with him to hear, he says. Man, those shoes. Did you pull those out of a dumpster or something? The boys laugh. Sharp, eager laughter, the kind that's meant to wound. Mr. Davis doesn't answer right away. He keeps his hand steady as he picks up the candy wrapper and tucks it into the trash bag he carries. But his silence only fuels Tyler. Come on, old man, Tyler continues, don't tell me you actually paid money for those. My dog's chew toy has more style. The boys howl again, echoing in the hallway. And here's the thing about humiliation, it doesn't need to be true to cut deep. It just needs an audience. A couple of other students walking by slow their steps. Some don't even laugh, they just shake their heads and keep moving. But others pull out their phones. Recording. Because at Crestwood, nothing is ever just a moment. Everything can become content. And through it all, Mr. Davis stays calm. He stands, straightening his back slowly, until he's looking Tyler nearly in the eye. His voice, when it comes, is quiet. Steady. Shoes don't make the man, son. But Tyler only smirks, leaning toward his friends as if to say, see how easy this is? That's a relief, he fires back. Because if they did, you'd be worth less than the trash you're cleaning up. The laughter spikes. It ricochets off the polished walls. And in that moment, the line is drawn. What no one in that hallway knows, not Tyler, not the boys laughing with him, not the students holding up their phones, is that the man standing before them, the one they think they've reduced to nothing with their words, is the very reason they walk those halls at all. Because Samuel Davis is not just the janitor. He's an alumnus of Crestwood Academy, class of 1974. He's the founder of a tech company that sold for $230 million before most of these kids were even born. And the marble floors beneath their feet? The science wing with its gleaming labs? The scholarships that keep students from families without wealth in these classrooms? All of that exists because of him. But on that morning, with Tyler's words echoing down the corridor, no one knows the truth. And Samuel Davis doesn't correct them. Not yet. Because sometimes, the most powerful lesson isn't in what you tell people right away. It's in the silence you hold, the patience you carry, until the truth reveals itself in its own time. And by the end of that day, when the curtain pulls back in the auditorium and the names of donors are read aloud, Tyler Montgomery will learn exactly who he mocked. And his world, his reputation, his arrogance, will crumble in front of everyone. But first, let me take you deeper into how the stage was set for that moment. The story of that morning doesn't end in the hallway. It carries forward, trailing whispers and quiet laughter, weaving itself into the rhythm of the school day like a rumor spreading through wires. By the time first period begins, half the junior class has already heard about Tyler's shoe joke. By second period, someone has posted a 15-second clip online. And by lunch, the cafeteria hums with the retelling, students exaggerating, reenacting, piling on details until the story grows teeth sharper than it ever needed. Mr. Davis goes about his work as he always does. Wiping down tables, checking the paper towel dispensers, changing a light bulb that flickers in the corner of the library. His movements are steady, practiced, almost ritual. For years, he has walked this campus, quiet in his labor, unnoticed except when something is broken or dirty. And yet, with every step, he carries a history no one cares to ask about. Because in this place, people rarely ask the janitor about his life. Tyler, meanwhile, basks in his own performance. He reenacts his lines for anyone who missed it, dragging his feet across the cafeteria floor, pretending to trip over imaginary old man shoes. His friends roar with laughter. Even some who don't laugh still smile, unwilling to challenge him. Because at Crestwood, popularity has its own gravity. But let me pause here, because to understand the weight of what's coming, you need to know who Samuel Davis really is. Back in 1970, he was just another boy walking these same halls, except not quite like the others. He was one of only 3 black students in the entire academy, attending on a scholarship that barely covered his books. He woke before dawn to catch the bus across town, studied late into the night under the hum of a single desk lamp, and endured whispers that followed him everywhere. Scholarship kid. Charity case. Not really one of us. For 4 years, he swallowed those words. For 4 years, he fought to prove himself with grades that topped the class and a discipline that no amount of prejudice could erode. He left Crestwood with scars invisible to most but written deep into his memory. And from there, he built something extraordinary. College. Then graduate school. A small startup in a cramped apartment. Nights of coding until his hands ached. Investors who slammed doors in his face. Banks that turned him away. But persistence has a sound, a rhythm of steady footsteps that never falter, even when the world tries to shove you back. And Samuel's footsteps carried him forward until the company he built reshaped entire industries. He sold it at 55, not because he needed the money but because he wanted the time. Time to give back. Time to return to the place where he had once been the boy on the margins, and ensure that no student would ever feel the way he had. That's why the Davis Science Wing exists. That's why 47 scholarships bear his name. That's why, though the students at Crestwood only see a janitor pushing a mop, the administrators know that without him, half their programs wouldn't exist. But here's the twist: Samuel never asked for recognition. He gave anonymously, insisting that the wing be named not for his company but for the school's values. He kept his photo off the website, his name off the press releases. He wanted the work, not the credit. Which is why no one, least of all Tyler Montgomery, knows who he really is. And this is what makes the moment so sharp. Tyler, the golden boy of Crestwood, mocking a man whose signature paid for the very labs where he submits his assignments, the very classrooms where his teachers praise him, the very halls where he struts. As lunch ends, the rumor of the shoe joke follows Mr. Davis into the quiet of the auditorium, where the staff prepare for that evening's unveiling ceremony. Crestwood is about to open its newest expansion, the Davis Science Wing, and tonight's event is the grand reveal. Parents, alumni, trustees, and students will fill the seats. Speeches will be made, names honored, applause shared. Tyler, of course, will be there. His parents are on the guest list. His friends plan to sneak in the back row, phones in hand, ready to record anything entertaining. None of them imagine that the entertainment will come at their expense. Because by the end of the night, the boy who mocked a pair of worn shoes will hear an introduction he cannot laugh off. He will sit in the glow of stage lights as a voice reads aloud the full list of donors, pausing on a name he thinks he has never heard, only to watch the curtain rise and reveal the very face he dismissed that morning. And in that silence, 3 seconds long, though it will feel eternal, Tyler Montgomery will learn the cost of arrogance. That's the story you're about to hear. A story of pride and humiliation. A story of hidden truths and public revelations. And a story that asks a question worth carrying with you. How often do we measure a person by what we think we see, when everything that matters lies far beneath the surface? So listen carefully. Because what happens next will change everything for Tyler, for Samuel Davis, and for an entire school that prided itself on prestige, but forgot the value of respect. Have you ever heard someone's world start to crack in a single sentence? If this story has you hooked already, share it with someone who needs to hear what happens next. The day stretches forward, and with every passing hour, the laughter from that morning seems to multiply. It lingers in the corners of the classrooms, it spills across the cafeteria tables, and it echoes faintly in the stairwells where students cluster between periods. Tyler's joke has become Crestwood's latest currency, traded in whispers and chuckles, replayed again and again until even those who weren't there feel as if they witnessed it firsthand. By the time the final bell rings, Samuel Davis has been reduced in their stories to nothing more than the punchline of worn shoes and an old man's silence. And Tyler? He wears that story like a crown. He struts through the courtyard with his friends trailing behind him, laughing too loud, making sure the sound carries to the groups huddled by the fountain. His voice rises above the others. Did you see his face? I swear, he looked like he wanted to disappear. Shoes like that, man, how do you even walk into this school without dying of embarrassment? The others laugh again, a chorus of approval that feeds his arrogance. One voice among them dares to hesitate. A boy named Daniel, smaller than the rest, speaks cautiously. I don't know, Tyler. He didn't really look embarrassed. He just stood there. Calm. Tyler snaps his head toward him, smirking. Calm? Please. That's what people do when they've got nothing to say. You think a janitor has some wise comeback waiting? He cleans toilets for a living. The group bursts out again, but Daniel's silence afterward hangs in the air. For a moment, the laughter feels thinner, stretched too far. But Tyler doesn't notice. He's already moved on, exaggerating the shuffle of his feet to mimic old, broken shoes. Inside, in the quiet of the science wing still under preparation for its unveiling, Samuel Davis works. He carries a stack of folded chairs from one side of the auditorium to the other, his steps measured, his breathing steady. A younger custodian, Marcus, glances at him with concern. You okay, Mr. Davis? He asks softly. Heard what that kid said this morning. Samuel sets the chairs down carefully before answering. His voice is low, deliberate. I've heard worse. Still, Marcus presses, no one should be talking to you like that. Especially not him. Samuel offers a faint smile. There will always be people who think they know your worth by what you wear. The trick is letting time teach them otherwise. Marcus doesn't quite understand what he means, but he nods anyway, falling silent. Meanwhile, word of the incident travels farther than the students know. A teacher overhears, frowns, and makes a mental note. A secretary passing through the hall catches fragments of the story and shakes her head. Even the principal, Miss Carter, hears whispers before the day is out. She sighs deeply at her desk, staring at the program for the evening ceremony. If only the students knew what the night would bring. By late afternoon, parents begin arriving. Black cars line the circular driveway, polished shoes clicking against the pavement as families step out in their finest attire. Tyler's parents arrive among them, his father's hand resting on the small of his mother's back as they climb the steps toward the auditorium. Tyler lingers behind, adjusting his tie with casual disdain. He hates these events. Too many speeches, too much formality. But he knows the after-party will be worth it. Inside, the auditorium buzzes with anticipation. The stage is draped with a heavy curtain concealing the plaque that will be unveiled. Rows of seats fill quickly, trustees in the front, parents in the middle, students crowding toward the back. Whispers ripple through the room, snippets of conversation blending into a steady hum. And in the wings, Samuel Davis waits. He has been asked to stay until the end of the night, to assist with cleanup after the ceremony. No one knows that the moment will belong to him. He listens quietly as the principal takes the stage, her voice steady, formal, rehearsed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we gather to celebrate not only the expansion of our campus but the values that make Crestwood Academy what it is: excellence, perseverance, and community. The new Davis Science Wing represents not just bricks and mortar, but opportunity and growth for generations of students to come. The applause swells. Tyler claps lazily, already half bored. But the principal continues. This wing, as many of you know, was made possible by the extraordinary generosity of our alumni. Tonight, we honor those whose commitment to education has shaped this academy's future. Their names will now be displayed permanently in this hall. Students murmur. Parents nod. Tyler leans toward his friend James, whispering. Bet it's just a bunch of old rich guys trying to get tax breaks. James chuckles. Probably. Wish my dad would put his name on a building. Be a nice flex. Tyler smirks, glancing toward the curtain. Yeah, but at least they don't show up in busted shoes. Can you imagine? The laughter that follows is quiet this time, edged with nerves. They're in the presence of parents and teachers now, and arrogance wears a thinner disguise. Still, Tyler's confidence does not waver. On stage, the principal begins to read names. Each one is followed by polite applause. Trustees, alumni, local donors. Tyler grows more impatient with each passing minute. He scrolls through his phone under the table, stifling a yawn. And then Ms. Carter's voice lifts slightly. Finally, we come to one whose contributions have not only built the very wing we sit in but also provided 47 scholarships, ensuring that students from every background can access the opportunities Crestwood provides. An alumnus of the class of 1974. A man whose perseverance and vision transformed the technology industry. Please join me in honoring Mr. Samuel Davis. The applause begins before the curtain even moves. But when it does, when the heavy fabric draws back to reveal a portrait framed in gold, Samuel Davis's face looking out over the audience, the sound shifts. It stutters, fractures, and then falls into a hush. The silence lasts exactly 3 seconds. And then comes the gasp. A ripple of recognition spreads through the students, especially those who had been in the hallway that morning. Phones slide down under desks. Eyes dart toward Tyler, whose smirk collapses before he can stop it. His face burns, a flush spreading from his neck to his ears. James leans away from him, whispering under his breath, "Dude, that's him." The words hang heavy, undeniable. On stage, Ms. Carter continues, her voice unshaken. Mr. Davis has chosen humility over recognition for many years. But tonight, we acknowledge his extraordinary legacy and the profound impact he has had on this academy. The applause resonates, louder this time, but uneven. Some clap with genuine admiration, others with awkward hesitation. In the back row, Tyler stares straight ahead, his hands frozen. The weight of the morning presses on him, memory replaying with brutal clarity, his voice mocking, his friends laughing, his target standing silent. Now, that silence feels like a judgment heavier than any words. And the night is only beginning. Because soon, Tyler will be forced to face not only the truth of who Samuel Davis is, but the truth of who he himself has become. The laughter is louder now, but so is the truth waiting just around the corner. Don't keep this moment to yourself, pass it on to someone who believes appearances tell the whole story. The silence after Samuel Davis's name is spoken stretches far longer than it should. It is not the silence of indifference, but the stunned quiet of an audience realizing they have misunderstood something fundamental. For years, the man in the gray uniform walked these halls unseen. For years, he carried a mop, pushed a broom, held doors open while students rushed by without acknowledgement. Tonight, his name rises above them all, engraved into the very stone of the academy's walls. Miss Carter gestures to the curtain now fully drawn, revealing the plaque beneath the portrait. Bold letters glint under the auditorium lights, the Samuel Davis Science Wing. Beneath it, etched in smaller script, are the details of his contributions, millions of dollars, decades of service, countless scholarships. And then she does something unexpected. "Mr. Davis," she says, her voice warm, "would you be willing to join us on stage?" Every head in the room turns. From the side aisle, moving with the same steady steps he's taken all day, Samuel Davis emerges. The janitor, the man mocked for his shoes, walks down the carpeted steps and climbs the stage. The applause this time is real. Strong, sustained. Parents rise to their feet. Alumni clap with recognition. Students, too, join in, though for many it is an applause heavy with guilt. In the back row, Tyler remains frozen. His hands, which clapped lazily for others, now grip the armrests. His breath comes shallow, uneven. He whispers to James, his voice hoarse. He can't be the same guy. That's not possible. But James doesn't answer. His eyes are fixed on the stage. Samuel reaches the podium slowly. He places his hands on either side, his shoulders straight, his face calm. When he begins to speak, his voice carries not with the force of anger, but with the weight of truth. "Good evening," he says simply. The microphone amplifies his words, but it is the silence of the room that gives them their power. 51 years ago, I was a boy sitting in these very seats. Crestwood Academy was different then, smaller, less diverse, and, to a young black student from across town, often unwelcoming. I was here on scholarship, one of only 3. I carried books heavier than I was, and I carried words heavier still. Words like, charity case. Words like, outsider. The audience shifts. A few students bow their heads. A few parents glance uncomfortably at one another. But I stayed, Samuel continues. I studied harder than anyone expected. I graduated. I built a company in a small apartment with borrowed computers and unpaid nights. That company grew until I had more than I needed. And when it was time to give back, I thought of this place. I thought of the boy I once was, and I thought of the students who might come after me, students who needed doors opened rather than shut. Applause rises again, softer this time, touched with emotion. I gave to Crestwood, Samuel says, because I believed in its potential. I believed in the power of education to break barriers. But I chose not to attach my name, because recognition was never my goal. Tonight, Principal Carter convinced me to stand here, not for myself, but for the lesson it might hold. His eyes sweep the room. He does not point, he does not accuse, but his gaze passes over the students with the weight of quiet judgment. Respect, he says, his voice steady, is not measured by the shoes on your feet or the uniform you wear. It is not measured by wealth or appearances. It is measured by how you treat those around you, especially those you think have nothing to give you. Because often, they have already given you more than you can imagine. The words land like stones dropped in water, rippling outward. In the back row, Tyler's chest tightens. He remembers his voice that morning, sharp and mocking. He hears his own laughter ringing back at him. And now, against the backdrop of Samuel's calm authority, it feels monstrous. A student near him whispers, "That's the janitor." That's him. Another mutters, "Tyler made fun of him this morning." The whispers spread, faster than any applause. Tyler feels them pressing in, circling him. His friends shift away slightly, unwilling to share his spotlight. James avoids his gaze entirely. Samuel continues, unaware of, or perhaps fully aware of, the storm gathering in the back row. When I walk these halls today, I do so not as a benefactor expecting thanks, but as a man who remembers what it felt like to be unseen. I choose to work here, not because I must, but because it reminds me of where I came from. It keeps me grounded. And it allows me to witness the next generation as they learn, not only chemistry and mathematics, but the lessons of character and compassion. The applause this time is thunderous. A standing ovation rises from the front rows. Parents and teachers cheer. Students clap, some sincerely, some out of obligation, some simply because the moment demands it. But in the corner of that celebration sits Tyler Montgomery, burning with shame. Every clap feels like a hammer against his chest. Every cheer feels like a reminder of his cruelty. And then comes the final blow. Principal Carter returns to the microphone. Before we close tonight's ceremony, she says, I want to acknowledge something. Mr. Davis has spent years giving quietly, without recognition. Tonight, that changes. From this day forward, his name will stand as a permanent reminder of Crestwood's values. Let us also remember that our values must be lived daily, in our words, in our actions, in how we treat one another. That lesson belongs to all of us. Her gaze drifts, intentionally or not, toward the back row. The audience applauds again. Phones record. Messages buzz through group chats. Already, Tyler's name attaches itself to the story in a way he cannot escape. By the time the ceremony ends, he is no longer Tyler the golden boy, Tyler the athlete, Tyler the son of wealthy parents. He is Tyler, the boy who mocked the man who built his school. And Samuel Davis? He leaves the stage quietly, his speech done, his truth revealed. He does not need to humiliate Tyler further. The lesson has been planted. But humiliation, once planted, grows quickly. As the crowd disperses, whispers follow Tyler like shadows. Students glance at him, some with pity, some with scorn, others with thinly veiled satisfaction. The phones in their hands buzz with new posts, new captions, new memes. He tries to walk out quickly, but the sound follows him, laughter that no longer belongs to him, but at him. And in the hallway, as families gather coats and teachers shake hands, Tyler sees Samuel once more. The man walks steadily toward the exit, his old shoes clicking softly against the marble floor. Their eyes meet for a brief moment. Samuel does not speak. He does not need to. The calm in his gaze is enough. Tyler looks away, his throat tight. For the first time, silence feels unbearable. The reveal is complete. The truth is undeniable. And the consequences are about to begin. Did you feel the silence when the truth dropped? Stories like this remind us that respect can change everything. Share this with someone who thinks they already know people's worth. The night of the ceremony ends, but the story does not. By the next morning, it has already taken on a life of its own. Phones have done their work. Videos of the unveiling circulate in group chats, spreading beyond the walls of Crestwood. Clips of Principal Carter announcing Samuel Davis's name play over and over, spliced with photos of the janitor in his uniform, images taken secretly by students who thought they were being clever. Now those images are being reshared with captions Tyler never wanted to see. Mocked the man who built your school. Respect the janitor, or find out he owns the building. Tyler Montgomery, Crestwood's lesson in humility. By 8 in the morning, Tyler feels the weight of it pressing down on him. The hallways that once parted effortlessly before him now close in. Students glance sideways as he passes. Some whisper behind their hands. Others don't bother to hide their smirks. At his locker, James avoids eye contact. The others who laughed with him yesterday offer half-hearted greetings before slipping away quickly, unwilling to be associated with the epicenter of ridicule. Daniel, the one who had hesitated in the cafeteria, speaks softly as he passes. Guess you were wrong about him. Tyler's jaw tightens. He slams his locker shut, the metal ringing through the hall. But the sound doesn't drown out the whispers. By third period, teachers, too, have heard the story. A few offer sidelong glances. One, an older English teacher, pauses while collecting essays and says aloud, "Sometimes, the greatest literature teaches us about pride before the fall." Interesting timing, don't you think? Several heads turn toward Tyler. Heat crawls up his neck again. At lunch, the cafeteria is unbearable. Tables buzz with chatter. Phones glow with videos and memes. One even loops his exact words, "My dog's chew toy has more style," against the image of the plaque bearing Samuel Davis's name. Every repetition feels like a slap. Tyler tries to sit with his usual group, but the chairs shift. James mutters, maybe sit somewhere else today." The rejection cuts deeper than he expects. He grabs his tray and moves toward the corner, alone. For the first time in years, no one follows. Across the room, Samuel Davis enters quietly. He wipes down a table, collects discarded napkins, and empties a trash bin. The usual indifference toward him has changed. Students watch him differently now, not just as a janitor, but as a man whose name commands respect. Some offer tentative nods. A few even whisper, "Thank you." Samuel accepts it with his usual calm. His steps remain steady, his hands unhurried. But the silence around Tyler is deafening. That afternoon, Principal Carter calls Tyler into her office. Her voice is firm, but not unkind. "Tyler, I want to talk about what happened yesterday morning." He shifts in his chair, defensive. "It was just a joke." Her eyebrows lift slightly. A joke that targeted someone's appearance. A joke that spread through the entire school. And a joke that, by sheer circumstance, revealed more about you than it did about him. Tyler bristles. "I didn't know who he was." "That's the point," she replies. "You didn't care who he was. You assumed his worth based on his uniform. That's not just a poor choice, it's a reflection of a deeper attitude this school cannot tolerate." Her words slice sharper than he expects. He shifts again, staring at the floor. "I'm not here to ruin your life," she continues. "But actions have consequences. You've embarrassed yourself, your family, and this academy. More importantly, you've hurt someone who has given more to this place than most ever will. And you will make it right." Tyler swallows hard. "How?" "You will apologize. Not privately, not quietly. Publicly. You will stand in front of your peers, and you will acknowledge your mistake." His eyes snap up. "In front of everyone?" "Yes," she says firmly. "Because that's where the harm was done. And because that's where the lesson must be learned." The meeting ends with no room for argument. Tyler leaves the office hollow, knowing the worst is yet to come. Word of his impending apology spreads quickly. By the next morning, the auditorium buzzes with anticipation. Students fill the seats, some eager, some curious, others indifferent. Teachers line the sides. Samuel Davis is there as well, sitting quietly in the front row, his hands folded in his lap. Principal Carter takes the stage. "Yesterday evening, we celebrated the generosity of Mr. Samuel Davis. Today, we confront a related matter. One of our students made remarks that were both disrespectful and harmful. That student has chosen to take responsibility and speak before you now." She gestures. Tyler steps onto the stage, his legs heavy, his throat dry. He faces hundreds of eyes, the weight of their stares pressing into him. He grips the microphone, voice trembling. I want to apologize. Yesterday morning, I said things to Mr. Davis that were cruel and wrong. I thought I was making a joke, but really, I was just showing arrogance. I didn't know who he was. But that doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. He deserves respect regardless of his shoes, his uniform, or anything else. The room is silent. Every word feels like a stone dragged from his chest. I embarrassed him. I embarrassed myself. And I realize now that I've been walking through this school thinking it was mine, when really, I've been blind to the people who make it what it is. Mr. Davis gave all of us, more than we could ever repay. And I treated him like he was nothing. I'm sorry. Truly. And I know it will take more than words to make that right. He lowers the microphone, shoulders slumping. The silence holds for a beat, then another. Finally, Principal Carter nods. Thank you, Tyler. Owning our mistakes is the first step toward change. She turns to the audience. Let this be a reminder that respect must be practiced daily. Crestwood will be instituting new programs focused on character education, service learning, and accountability. This incident is not isolated, it reflects a culture we must address. Applause rises, not for Tyler, but for the message. Samuel Davis stands slowly. He does not walk to the stage. Instead, his voice carries from the front row. Apology accepted, he says simply. The words release the tension in the room. But they do not erase Tyler's shame. That will linger. In the days that follow, consequences ripple outward. Tyler's reputation, once untouchable, erodes. Friends distance themselves. Teachers hold him to higher scrutiny. Even his parents, embarrassed among their peers, speak to him in clipped tones. But not all consequences are punishment. Some bring change. The school board announces new policies, mandatory service hours for all students, diversity and inclusion workshops, scholarship celebrations that highlight students as well as donors. Samuel Davis is invited to co-chair a committee shaping the future of Crestwood's culture. And through it all, Tyler walks the halls no longer as the boy who commanded laughter, but as the boy who carries silence. He avoids the cafeteria spotlight. He studies harder, though his grades falter. He begins to notice the small things, Marcus cleaning the library, the lunch staff serving food, the security guards standing watch. For the first time, he sees them. Still, the whispers follow. His words echo back at him in unexpected places. At practice, in the locker room, even in the grocery store where another student's parent mutters, "That's the boy who mocked the donor." His arrogance has collapsed, leaving only a hollow shell where pride once stood. And Samuel Davis? He continues as before. Steady, humble, present. But his presence now carries a different weight. Students greet him by name. Teachers thank him openly. Even parents nod respectfully when they pass him on campus. He has not changed, but the way the world sees him has. The lesson has been taught. The consequences have been felt. And months from now, when graduation arrives, the story will come full circle. But that belongs to the epilogue. Have you ever witnessed pride collapse right before your ears? If this part struck you, drop a comment about the moment you think everything changed. 6 months later, Crestwood Academy feels different. The polished hallways remain the same, the red brick buildings stand tall, but the atmosphere has shifted in subtle, unmistakable ways. Service hours are now woven into the fabric of student life. Once a week, you can hear the scrape of brooms pushed by students who once ignored them, the sound of trays being collected by hands that once expected to be served. Wealthy heirs now stand beside scholarship kids, shoulder to shoulder, cleaning tables in the cafeteria or tutoring younger students. The whispers that once carried Tyler's shame have softened. They have not vanished, but time and effort have reshaped them. His name is still a lesson, but not just as a joke, it is a reminder of how quickly arrogance can collapse. Graduation day arrives on a warm afternoon in June. Families gather in the auditorium, their voices blending into a low hum of anticipation. The banners hang high, the stage polished, the microphone gleaming under the lights. For the seniors, it is both an ending and a beginning. Tyler sits among them, his cap pulled low, his tassel brushing his cheek. He is quieter now. Not invisible, he never could be, but subdued. The months have weighed on him, reshaped him, hollowed out the arrogance and left space for something else, though he still struggles to name it. When Principal Carter steps to the podium, the applause swells. Her voice carries steady and clear. This year has tested us. It has revealed cracks in our culture and given us a chance to repair them. Today, we celebrate not just academic achievement, but growth, resilience, and the courage to face our flaws. The crowd listens closely. Tyler feels each word like it's meant for him. And before we honor our graduates, I would like to recognize someone whose story has changed the course of this school year. Someone who reminded us that dignity does not come from titles or wealth, but from character. She turns slightly toward the front row, where Samuel Davis sits. He is dressed not in his janitor's uniform, but in a modest suit, dark navy, pressed, simple. Still, he carries himself with the same humility as always. "Mr. Samuel Davis," she says, "we thank you once more for your extraordinary generosity. Not only for funding scholarships, but for teaching us, through patience, humility, and grace, that true leadership sometimes wears overalls." The audience rises in a standing ovation. Hands clap in unison, voices cheer, whistles cut through the air. Some students chant his name. "Davis! Davis! Davis!" Samuel nods once, slowly, acknowledging the room. His expression remains calm, but his eyes glisten briefly before he blinks it away. Tyler watches, his chest tightening. Months ago, he could not have imagined this scene. Months ago, he mocked the very shoes of the man now receiving thunderous respect. And then Principal Carter does something unexpected. She looks directly at Tyler. "And now," she says, "one of our seniors has asked to speak." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Tyler's breath catches. His palms sweat. But he rises slowly, legs trembling as he makes his way to the podium. When he reaches the microphone, silence spreads. He swallows. His voice is quieter than usual, stripped of its old bravado. "I wasn't asked to do this. I asked if I could. Because I owe it, not just to Mr. Davis, but to all of you." He pauses, searching for courage. 6 months ago, I thought I was untouchable. I thought my last name and my family's money made me better. I thought I could laugh at someone's shoes and walk away without consequence. But what happened taught me otherwise. It showed me that arrogance is loud, but respect is stronger. He glances at Samuel, then back at the crowd. Since then, I've had to face myself every single day. I've had to hear my words repeated like a curse. And I've had to learn what it means to actually see people, not just for what they do, but for who they are. His voice cracks, but he continues. "I'm not proud of what I said. I never will be. But I am grateful for the lesson. Because now, I know better. And knowing better means I have to do better." The silence holds for a moment. Then scattered applause begins, building slowly until the room fills again with sound. It is not the raucous cheer Samuel received. It is softer, more measured. But it is real. Tyler steps back, his shoulders lighter than they have been in months. After the ceremony ends, students flood the aisles, families hug, laughter echoes. Tyler makes his way through the crowd, searching. He finds Samuel near the stage, speaking with a group of parents. For a moment, Tyler hesitates. Then he approaches. "Mr. Davis," he says quietly. Samuel turns. His eyes are calm, steady. "Yes, Tyler. I meant what I said up there," Tyler replies, voice firm despite his nerves. "I can't undo what I did, but I want to keep learning. I want to be better than I was." Samuel studies him for a long moment. Then he nods. "Growth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Keep walking that road, and you'll be fine." A simple answer. But it is enough. By autumn, Crestwood has embraced new traditions. Scholarship students are celebrated publicly, their names read alongside donors. Service days are no longer seen as punishment, but as shared responsibility. And Samuel Davis remains part of the community, not because he seeks recognition, but because his presence reminds them all of what respect truly means. As for Tyler, his arrogance does not vanish overnight. But it no longer defines him. At college, he volunteers in community programs, mentors younger students, and writes essays about humility and privilege. He stumbles, as anyone does, but he does not forget the lesson carved into his memory at Crestwood. And Samuel? He continues to live quietly, content in his dual identity, janitor and benefactor, worker and philanthropist, ordinary and extraordinary all at once. Because the truth, as the story has shown, is that power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it sweeps a floor. Sometimes it empties a trash bin. And sometimes, it builds an entire future while being overlooked. So remember this, every voice matters. Every person holds a story you cannot guess from the outside. And arrogance is fragile, it shatters the moment truth is revealed. If this story has stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because the world does not change from silence. It changes when we listen, when we speak, and when we learn to see each other with dignity. And that's where this story ends, but maybe where another one begins. If this story moved you, subscribe for more, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and remember, dignity is never defined by what we wear, but by who we are.